Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Northwest Unitarian Universalist Church. Our interim minister, the Reverend Kevin DeBeck, is out of the pulpit this morning. My name is Kathy Henry, and I'll be your worship associate today. Our acting director of religious education is Eva Leventer, and they had service earlier this morning. Our choir director, Ken Hermanot, is here. Alex Myers, our pianist. Ben Gable, our congregational administrator, is here as our Zoom host. And Jake Myers is also assisting with sound and AV. If you're a visitor here and would like to stay in touch, please fill out the visitor form. You'll see a link in the chat box. The chat feature has been disabled except for chatting directly with the tech host. If you're having any problems with Zoom, just use the chat function or the raise hand function in Zoom and Ben will assist. Today's service includes a period of time for some journaling and then small group sharing. So grab some paper and a pen or whatever you'd like to use to take notes, and so you can use that later in the service today. And now we're going to have announcements. Ben, are you going to show the slides for the announcements, or? There's the visitor form in chat. All right, I'm just going to start. Oh, there we go. Okay, the Detroit metro region reached the very high risk category last week, and this means no more than 10 people can be in the building at a time. All worship services will be streamed from the sanctuary. No one else but the tech crew and whoever is in the pulpit will be in church. And actually today we all tried to be in church, but we had some technical difficulties, so we all went home again. Religious education will be online as well. Children's Chapel will be every Sunday starting at 9:30. Unfortunately, Barbara Wallace's birthday party, which was scheduled for later today, has been canceled. So we will wait this out, keep everyone as safe as possible, hope that as more people get vaccinated, that will bring COVID and this Delta variant under control. Until then, stay safe, wear a mask. We'll keep you all up to date as conditions change. And hopefully we'll be together again soon in the sanctuary. September's monthly theme is embracing possibility. Today we'll be talking about living into our principles and our recent adoption of the 8th principle. On September 26th, Reverend Kevin DeBeck will be talking about what my daughter taught me. Children's Chapel will be again 9:30, and then there are some youth programs events coming up. I don't know how to pronounce that. Obstbaum Orchards in Northville, Community Nature Hike in Southfield. Contact Eva for more information. Our service auction will be Saturday, November 13th. Have you decided what you're going to donate? It's time for the next step. So you can get in touch with Sherry Smith to learn more about how to donate, and there will be more information coming soon. And the auction will be virtual this year. We're going to have small groups training Wednesday, September 29th, offered by Jake Myers and Sharia Robinson Lane. You can join on Zoom to brush up your Zoom and leadership facilitation skills. Our volunteer job fair will be on Sunday, October 10th at 11:30 after church. We'll be connecting via virtual breakout rooms. Try something new, stick with your tried and true. So there's a lot that you can get involved with here at Northwest UU. And we'll also be having small group Spirit Week the week of October 11th. In the evenings, we'll have some fellowship via small groups, and you can learn more about the small groups that exist, and also talk about maybe starting up a new small group. Jan Berger-Cohen is the person to contact for that. You can stay connected with Breeze. Of course, our directory is online and available there. You can download in your app store, and our church ID is Northwest UU, and we have a weekly newsletter, and of course there's information on the website as well, and the Northwest YouTube channel, which will have recorded services on it as well. and we have an NWU Facebook friends page. October board meeting. Everybody is invited to the board meetings Thursday, October 14th at 7 p.m. And our congregational meeting will be on Sunday, October 17th after church at noon. And our moderator, Amy Revant, can be contacted if you have any questions about that. September plate collection, 50% goes to the Southfield Emergency Needs Fund, and you can text your amount to 248-574-8034, and I think Ben also will be putting information about that in the chat, and that's a 50% split with church. And then I also just wanted to say that Mike Yanko and the Wallaces had to cancel the birthday party. They're concerned that any of the invited guests may not have heard about that it was canceled due to the new COVID restrictions. So don't show up this afternoon, and they're very sorry they've had to cancel the party. Go ahead and light the chalice. For the gift of this day and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul. We have a video for our opening today. What is the eighth principle? A video created by the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco.
What is the eighth principle? Well, you know our 7 principles, right? They're things that matter to us. Things that guide how we are as a community, how we treat each other, and what we want to bring more of into the world. Just like each of us is always learning and growing, we know our principles have to grow sometimes too. This is the story of the 8th principle. A few years ago, some UU leaders spoke up. They told us these principles we love, they left something out. Like many who'd come before them, they spoke about how people still aren't being treated fairly because of the color of their skin, or where they come from, or other things that make them who they are. And that happens not only in the world at large, but even in our congregations, even in this one. So we need to do more to make sure that all people can feel welcome and loved here. We need to say more about our commitments to fight against racism, because racism hurts everybody. In fact, it hurts all 7 of our principles. And so, the 8th principle was born. The 8th principle is a commitment to fight against racism and oppression, and to build a beloved community of love and trust and belonging here in our church and in the world around us. We're going to be talking about the 8th principle a lot this spring, learning about it and what it means for this community. What does the 8th principle mean to you?
Next, we have hymn number 1017, We Are Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Last Stop on Market Street. Words by Matt de la Pena. Pictures by Christian Robinson. For Luna and her two grandmas, Ronnie and Grace. For Nana. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under Nana's umbrella, saying, "How come we gotta wait for the bus in all this wet?" "Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see the big one drinking through a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but never saw a straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals, watched rain patter against the windshield of a car. His friend Colby climbed in, gave us CJ a wave, and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't have a car?" "Boy, what do you need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire, and old Mr. Dennis, who always has a trick for you." The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" said Mr. Dennis. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear, placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a "good afternoon." She made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. "How come we always gotta go here after church?" CJ said. "Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere." "I feel sorry for those boys," she told him. "They never have a chance to meet Bobo and Sunglass Man. And I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat." CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched the cars zip by either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes. A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. "How come that man can't see?" "Boy, what do you know about seeing?" Nana told him. "Some people watch the world with their ears." "That's a fact. Their noses too," the man said, sniffing the air. "That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am." Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in the back. "Sure wish I had one of those," he said. Nana set her knitting down. "What for? You got the real thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song?" CJ didn't have to. The man with the guitar was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. "To feel the magic of music," the blind man whispered. "I like to close my eyes." Nana closed hers. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves, saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky, saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound of the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in the back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's hand. CJ dropped it in the man's hand. Last stop, Market Street, Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus, crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded up stores. He reached for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here? She smiled and pointed at the sky. Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what is beautiful. CJ saw the perfect rainbow arcing over the soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, and the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamps still lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. When he spotted their faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh, her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too, CJ. Now come on."
Thank you. Our reading today is by Ibram X. Kendi from the 2021 MLK Commemorative Address at the University of Rochester. The very heartbeat of racism is denial. The sound of that heartbeat that the individual makes is, "I'm not racist." When people say they're not racist, they're sharing the words that white supremacists use. Jim Crow segregationists said they weren't racist. Lynchers argued they weren't racist. The problem was the people they lynched. Slave owners said the same thing. By contrast, to be anti-racist is to say, you know what? That redlining policy was racist. That chokehold was a racist chokehold. That policy that has impoverished that Black community disproportionately, that was a racist policy, and I supported it. And when I supported it, I was being racist, but I'm going to change. Our hymn is number 1037, We Begin Again in Love.
For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone. We forgive for those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Covenant can be a scary word. In some religious traditions, a covenant is a one-way command from a divine power, something to be accepted and followed without question. And we see the disastrous results of unquestioning adherence to supposedly divine law in all corners of the world. But in Unitarian Universalism, we define covenant as a mutual agreement, an inclusive co-creation, an acknowledgement of our belief in the sanctity of our community. Ultimately, we are a community of choice. We are here because we choose to be here. We choose to show up. We choose to show up even when it isn't how we expect or how we want it to be, even when none of this is going the way we thought. All of us hoped the pandemic would be behind us by now. Many of you hoped to be sitting in the sanctuary today, I'm sure. Yet when everything changed and that wasn't possible, you still showed up. Showing up is half the battle. We're called to show up in the world as well, even when the world is messy, divided, even when it seems impossible to make any kind of positive change. And we're called to look at choices we've made in the past, perhaps choices we made with less information than we have today, choices we may wish we could change, and then making the choice to not be trapped in a cycle of self-criticism, but rather humbly accepting that we cannot change the past, but we can do better today and tomorrow. The core of our covenant is our 7 principles, which are introduced in the UUA bylaws with the phrase, "We covenant to affirm and promote." This language was also part of our affirmation of the 8th principle in June. We, the congregation of the Northwest Unitarian Universalist Church, covenant to affirm and promote the 8th principle of Unitarian Universalism, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. The first step of this journey is accepting that we don't know where we're going, that building a beloved community is about building something we've probably never lived in before. No matter our background or experience, we have all been shaped by centuries and generations of institutionalized racism and oppression. As they say, the fish doesn't notice the water it swims in. So our first step, especially for white people, is to notice, to open our eyes to, as Dr. Kendi says, the policies we supported that were disproportionately harmful and oppressive to others, to use our power and influence to change those policies wherever we see them. We also need to accept that it's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be neat and clean and polite and comfortable. It will be messy. Our egos may be bruised. We may find ourselves questioning where we stand and why. And it is our covenant the agreement we make to keep showing up for one another, to be respectful of each other, even in our discomfort and disagreement, that will hold us together. When it's difficult, we keep going. We've already proven that. So what does it mean for us at Northwest to be in covenant with each other? A covenant of shared power. What does it mean to live by our principles? In just a moment, Ben will be putting 3 questions into the chat, and then you'll have about 5 minutes to write down your thoughts, and we'll be sending you off into breakout groups for about 10 minutes of discussion, and then we'll come back together for about 5 minutes to let people share with the group, with a broader group if they would like. The first question is, what does the word covenant mean to you? The second question, can you think of a time when you realized a greater truth about a policy or an organization you were part of and felt like you wanted to or needed to say something about it? And number 3, what is one way you envision moving the 8th principle from concept to practice within our congregation and into the larger community? The 8th principle, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So we'll have about 5 minutes for some journaling time right now. Okay, Ben's going to put us into breakout rooms. I'm really grateful for everyone's conversation and for everyone sharing. These are the hard things to talk about, and so I'm glad that we got some conversation around that. I think that's very helpful. An important part of adopting the 8th principle is creating an implementation team. And if you're interested in being part of that team, working to envision how we might live into the beloved community, Ben is going to put a link in the chat, and you can follow that and indicate your interest. And the good news is you already answered one of the questions during the interactive sermon today. So the board looks forward to hearing from you by the end of the month, and we'll be announcing the members of the implementation team in October. So let's see. And Ben, I know, is going to be, let me see.
So I just put the link for everyone with the
Yep, the bit.ly link there, NWU 8 principles. Okay. Wait, I've lost track of where I am in my, I think we're to the hymn. Yes, we are. Hymn 1054, Let This Be a House of Peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom. Guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be a house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let all in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.